Alright everyone, as a little review, this is one concept I know students come to me still wanting clarification on, and this is lipid digestion and metabolism. So this is just sort of a rendition of the intestinal tract. You would have eaten your fat, it would have gone down the esophagus, past the stomach, into the lumen of the small intestine. Okay, the lumen, just the center part of your small intestine, that's where everything goes before it's absorbed. Now lipids, because everything else in this lumen here is watery, lipids are fatty, and fats come together. Lipids are going to be attracted to one another, and so they're going to want to form a big blob, which is not very absorbable. It's not going to get into the enterocyte very easily. And so what we do have is the emulsifier bile. Bile comes in and reacts with the lipids because it has hydrophilic and hydrophobic properties. It can associate with both lipid and water. So the bile associates with the lipid and creates smaller droplets. We call these a micelle. So now these micelles are just a lipid here in the center and bile around the outside. These micelles are then able to be absorbed by the enterocyte, your gut cell. So we absorb the micelles into the gut cell, releasing the lipid. The bile doesn't actually end up going to the enterocyte at this point. It's not really absorbed. And now we have all these lipids, free lipids, cholesterol, maybe even some phospholipids, but mostly triglycerides and other fats. We have those in the enterocyte, and they must again be packaged. Now, here in the gut cell, they're packaged into the chylomicron. So that's where we see the chylomicron, the very first lipoprotein we were seeing, the chylomicron. The chylomicron now is going to be absorbed into the lymphatic system, specifically into this vessel we call a lacteal. It is associated with here we see the cardiovascular, the blood vessels, the capillaries actually. These are the blood vessels. This is a lymphatic vessel, and it's called a lacteal. So what's happening now? We see this chylomicron being absorbed into the lacteal, and now it can travel to the liver ultimately. So there's nuances there, but just understand the basics that we now travel to the liver. Once we're at the liver, this chylomicron again is broken apart. We might use some of the lipids there. We might use some of the cholesterol that we just got to the liver to make other compounds. We may use some of those lipids. But whenever we're not ready to use here in the liver, we're going to process into another type of lipoprotein called VLDL, which will become LDL. What we're really talking about, if we simplify this as much as possible, is that from the liver, lipids are going to be delivered to the cells within the low-density lipoprotein in the form of LDL. So LDL is the carrier, the ship, the transporter of all these lipids going from the liver to the cell. Now we're in the cell, we're going to use cholesterol, we'll use some of our fats, we'll have all these metabolic processes happen, and if we don't need the lipids anymore, one more time we're going to repackage them again, this time in the form of a high-density lipoprotein, HDL. So HDL goes from the cell to the liver. And if we want to look at this whole process, in the simplest of terms, we see here the micelle starts in the lumen, the chylomicron starts in the enterocyte, the chylomicron goes to the liver, where we see the LDL transporting lipids to the cell, and HDL transports lipids back to the liver. So hopefully that simplifies things a little bit for you. You should recognize the main jobs of all these lipids: the micelle of getting it absorbed, the chylomicron of getting it into the liver, the LDL of getting lipids to the cell, and HDL is getting lipids back to the liver.